This is a video on ANOVA. The question states, a study was done to determine if the average amount spent on textbooks per student is the same for LTCC, Lake Tahoe Community College, Sac City College, Solano College, and De Anza College. What can be concluded at the 0.05 level of significance? So the study was done, and the answers to the survey are shown here. So notice at Lake Tahoe Community College, there were 4 students that were surveyed, and the first student spent $248, and the second, $332. And we can see for Sac City, Solano, and De Anza, they also surveyed 4 students. So when we want to see if there's a difference between the average amount or the population means, and there are many samples, so in this case we're comparing 4 different colleges, then ANOVA is the test to use. So the null hypothesis for ANOVA is that the population means are all the same. In particular, we had 4 of them. So mu1 equals mu2 equals mu3 equals mu4 is our H0. Now, the opposite of them all being the same is not that they're all different from each other. It turns out if any 2 of them differ, then they're not all the same. So HA, the alternative hypothesis, is at least 2 of the population means are different. So now that we have the null and alternative hypotheses, and we have our data, we can go to our calculator. So let's do that. So here's the calculator, and we want to run an ANOVA test. ANOVA is at the very end. So we can see here's ANOVA, and I click on ANOVA, and it says enter the data values separated by commas. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to save you the pain of watching me do it. So here it is. I have entered the data for each of the 4 colleges. So here's data 1, which is the 4 students at Lake Tahoe Community College, and then the next college, the next college, the next college. And once I have my data entered, then I can scroll down and I hit calculate. And our test statistic is the F statistic, and that is 1.65 ... And P, the p-value, is 0.229 ... Now I can interpret the results. So we had that our p-value was equal to 0.2297 about, and that is much bigger than 0.05, which was our level of significance, alpha. And when the p-value is greater than the level of significance, that means we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So our conclusion is there is insufficient evidence to conclude that there is a difference between the population mean book expenditures at the 4 community colleges. So that's the conclusion, but whenever you have something like this that only had a sample size of 4, you should be very concerned. So let me write down some of the assumptions we had to make this conclusion. So the first is that when you have a sample size so small, first we need to assume that the distribution of book expenditures is normal. So it has a normal distribution for each of the 4 colleges. That may or may not be true, but we'll assume it. The second one, this comes from ANOVA, is that the standard deviations are the same at all 4 colleges. And the third is that the samples were randomly taken. So if there's bias in any of the statistical tests that we've done in this class, you can't really make any conclusions. So that's why we're assuming they're randomly taken. That means there's no bias. And they're independent from each other. So that means the first student at Lake Tahoe Community College had nothing to do with the first student at Sac City College. That one's much easier to make happen. Whereas the other two, I don't know, we need a large sample size to make this really work. So that's all I have to say. I'm done with the problem, and thank you for watching this video.